we have Rodrigo here from Langflow. We're super excited. So, Langflow is a low-code agent building solution. We've been talking to Lens about how 2025 is going to be the year of agents, and we have so many tools to be able to build agentic applications, but it's kind of like complicated. Some of them, LangChain is, you can get stuck down a rabbit hole, end up like continually debugging that whole application and pull your hair out. You have tools like Crew AI, which are still developer focused. It makes it a lot simpler, but you still need to write code. But Langflow is something that a non-technical person can drag and drop little cubes to connect them to data sources, to other models, to APIs, and build a whole application out of it. Here we have Rodrigo, all the way from Brazil. He's going to give a talk later today at our meetup, but we kind of wanted to give you a little snippet of what he's been working on. Maybe give us a bit of a background about how you came up with Langflow, because you mentioned that you started it pre-ChatGPT, which is very, very early.
Yeah. So happy to be here. It's good uh, to have you all like getting to know a little bit more about Langflow and it's spreading out. I think it all history behind Langflow started a couple years ago. It's even more than that, like 3 4 years ago. Gabriel and we come from this machine learning data science background, and we come from a time where models were emerging as a new super powerful thing, right? So we started in 2016. We had a TensorFlow becoming open source, so machine learning models became a thing. Then we had PyTorch and everything around, and Hugging Face started to put those specialized models available to everyone with Transformers Hub, the Hugging Face Hub, right? And we were sort of looking at the idea of having these specialized models and thinking about how this is going to behave in a future where you want to connect them, right? Or have them becoming some sort of a brain behind the scenes that maybe you're going to have, let's say you have models for image recognition, models for image detection, models for entity recognition, time series, transformers, whatever, right? And how could we have a place where you're going to connect all of these specialists, right? I don't remember the right word. I think we use either experts or specialists by the time. And one, how we can connect them between themselves, but most importantly, how we can connect them with the external world, right? And I think this is what today we would probably call agents, would be the specialists or whatever. And the tools are the connections to the external world, right? And the idea came along with this thought of, one, we need to put this together. It needs to be simple and democratized, right? So that everyone can get the access to this new power that is emerging, which is AI. And now, eventually, Gen AI and the power of LLMs themselves, right? The entire story of history of machine learning didn't differentiate LLMs from other models. Language models were just one more model, right? But we ended up figuring out that these models are, of course, the best to interface with humans. So they ended up creating a power that we just discovered much a long time after that. Okay, so I think Langflow became from that sort of idea, and it evolved in many ways. There's a big community helping us and building together with us, and this community has shaped Langflow much more than than we did in the beginning, right? We listened to the community. We've been listened. We made a lot of mistakes, and we are evolving as a product and an open source project itself, right? So I think that's a little bit of the background behind how Langflow came to be as a startup and as a project together.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it seems like you've leveraged the open source community a lot over the years. It started off, I believe, as an open source project. Right now, how different is the product from the open source code? Have you?
So so everything that we have, so Langflow is still an open source project. Okay, Langflow is fully open, It's we've been acquired by DataStacks around a couple, like 11 months ago or so, and one of the commitments that we made was that it's going to continue being open source forever and agnostic, meaning that we're going to integrate to tools regardless of the company providers, etc. Okay, so Langflow is still an open source uh, project. We also have in DataStax something called DataStacks Langflow, which is a cloud version of that, right? That behaves very, very much like the open source, like the, the the repository, but you can just sign in and start using it, right? And today we're launching something completely new, right? Yeah, I think a lot of folks at this point, by watching this already, of course, saw that, and it's Langflow Desktop, right? It's the new kind of distribution that we're putting together. And the idea here is back to what we just discussed, is democratizing even more. We're making the starting up with something like Langflow becoming extremely smooth and easy without CLI, without having to configure environments, without a Python setup or whatever, right? Get started, go within the desktop setup, and basically the idea is desktop first, not desktop only. Meaning, you start over there. If you want to publish it, we already figuring out and working on ways that you're going to publish, host, serve your flows to in different ways, right, outside of your own machine.
Yeah, so actually, I just started playing with the Langflow Desktop like an hour or 2 ago,
Oh
and
wow.
I have to say that it's really impressive. I enjoy it quite a bit, and I love that you support so many different models. So, I saw you have Samba Nova on there, you have DataStax stuff as well, and then also I was really impressed you have Ollama. So I was able to run everything locally on my computer and, play around with some of my use cases. So yeah, hats off to you for, helping to, create such a useful tool. And even though, Shashank mentioned at the beginning that this is for non-technical users, I think that technical users will also really like this. So like me, like I feel like I'm fairly technical, but using like a drag and drop thing, just for quick prototyping is really great actually. So yeah, thanks for helping to make such a thing. I'm really impressed with it. So adding on to the Langflow desktop and like, can you maybe just describe like who maybe Langflow is for and why somebody would want to use something like Langflow over some of the competition?
That's a very good question. It's such a good question that it has been discussed internally for a long time, and a lot of iterations changed our own mindsets about this. And I think I'm going to start sort of pushing a little bit away from the fact that Langflow is for non-technical people, non-technical folks, right? Uh, Langflow as a IDE slash platform allows you to write code your own inside of the platform, right? Everything that you see in Langflow is Python, right? It's Python based, not only behind the scenes, but also we have something called custom components that you can literally open up the component and write your own function over there. And once you're happy with what you just created over there, you collapse that into a node, right? A component, a building block that you're gonna now connect to these other nodes and create your entire agentic workflow and continue with the pipeline. So the idea is to simplify that process. And then once you're happy with what you just built over there, you're gonna serve it, right? So you're gonna instantiate that serve Langflow and run that via, for example, an API, or embed that into a website, or create use a chat experience to deploy something like that, right? So I think it's Langflow. It's trying to pick into a middle ground between these technical folks that want to start very quickly and the non-technical folks that want to experiment and prototype and etc. Right? So I think this is today the audience, I would say, we are focused today is AI builders, right? Uh, Hackers, data scientists, uh, devs who are interested in building agentic pipelines and having that and are comfortable with having that as a separate module, right, in their environment. And you may ask, why would you want to use something like Langflow? Why can't I stay in my, like, maybe as a developer, a comfortable zone of IDs that I already use, or whatever? And the idea here is that development shifted a lot with the emergence of AI. Before AI, you have your code base, you have a function. When there's a bug, you're gonna look into a function, into the class, the line of code that broke, and you're gonna try to fix that, right? After AI, the AI-based development is a little bit different because the main function or the main part of your code is a black box. It's the model, right? And you cannot access the model at all. And that's a fundamental paradigm shift in how development is made. You are limited, constrained to what you have access to in your own code base. That means that what developers are doing is they are working around that big black box, right? And you need a lot of control and visibility and ways to interact fast and iterate so that they understand what's going on, validate, evaluate, and so on, right? So a little bit of the idea of it being visual and interactive is because of that, right? So devs that are interested in building around these black boxes that are becoming more and more powerful, and then also connecting them with other black boxes, other models, right? So you're sort of creating this swarm of agents connecting together, connecting them to tools. Now, a lot of stuff through MCP. We just released an MCP integration right now. It's two-way integration. You connect Langflow to tools via MCP, and you expose your flows as MCP server as well, right? So I think it covers all of that as long as it's an AI first sort of application, or it's an AI first sort of API app that you're building that is going to be incorporated into maybe your main source code for the rest of what you have over there in your app, right?
That's really exciting that you're able to integrate MCP. MCP is like kind of the new hot thing. But I think since it's so new, a lot of people may not be familiar with it. Would you maybe just describe what that is really quickly?
Yeah. Yeah, so MCP is a new protocol, right? It's something like REST. We all know what API REST is, and MCP is basically that, but made and tailored for LLMs. Okay, so it's a way to get consistency across how the model, the agent interprets what comes through, right, and it spits out. It contains information about the tools that agents can access. It contains information about how and when to access these tools, and everything all together in a formatted and structured uh, way so that the LLMs make fewer mistakes, right? There's a traditional way to call tools, which is you pass the descriptions and the instructions for each one of the tools in the prompt or instructions of the agent. And with MCP, that changes a little bit, which is now the agent has access to the server. And to get to know what tools it has access, the agent makes a call itself. So it's almost like the agent just have one, like in the previous format, one tool, which is the MCP server. Right now, it's going to call the MCP. It's going to get back a response of what it has access to, how to use each one of these little, like, these abilities, right? It has, and when to use them. So it's faster because of that communication. It's more structured, so it makes fewer errors, right? And it's well structured so that you can change, update the tools you have in that server without having to reset or change the instructions of the agent. Right? So they live in separate places right now. It's decoupling the tools from the agent.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty helpful. So I know we don't have a lot of time since there is going to be an event soon. Um, but Uh, when it comes to what you see people have been building with Langflow, or what you'd like to see them build with Langflow, is there any kind of uh, use cases that you would like to see people build, or maybe?
Oh,
I think we lost you, Mark.
yeah, I think we lost your audio, but I kind of understand what you were trying to say. We're kind of curious. What have you seen your developer community or your users
Yeah.
do with Langflow? What kind of applications
Yeah.
have they built, and is there any specific kind of use case that's well suited to using Langflow?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question, and we see a pattern, right? So far, we have three main types of applications that folks are building with this kind of tool. And the first one is LLM pipelines, right? So this is basic workflows that in the middle of the process, they need to use an LLM or a heavy model that needs a provider, something like that, in the middle. So it's logic, traditional workflows, but that need that need the power of these LLMs in the middle of them. That would go through automations, triggers that will enable a pipeline to happen and so on. Then the second one is probably, I'd say, RAG, right? So everything that where you need to access and consult based on a big amount of context, right? Uh, you have databases, you have content from the web, you have content from external APIs, and so on. And you want to bring that as information to a model. Model context is still a limitation. The model accuracy over larger contexts is also a limitation. So it's an increasing limitation, right? And what you're doing with RAG is basically you are vectorizing this huge amount of content, and retrieving that content becomes much faster, efficient, and the agent, the model, just sees what it needs to see in order to answer to a query from a user, right? So that's RAG types of applications, right? And not just basic RAG, but Langflow allows you to do all sorts of logic with RAG around it as well. So it goes uh, from filtering columns, from re-ranking, graph RAG, and so on. And then I think the final major kind of application that we're thinking about is multi-agent application, right? So you have we already know what an agent is. An agent is basically a language model with access to these tools, right? So it's this brain with access to these abilities, and it has some sort of recursion in the middle, so that it tries and tries and try again, and it answers to itself, and sees the response to reason, right? That's what causes the reasoning process to go through, with structuring in the middle. So we call them agents because they feel like they have agency, right? They have the power of making decisions, and this is single agent. But when it comes to multi-agent, the reason why you want to connect one agent to another, and maybe create a hierarchical structure, is because a single agent with a lot of tools start making a lot of mistakes, right? Uh, it's more tools to access. The chances that it's going to make a mistake starts to increase, and tools that overlap in description, that might be more confusing to those. So in the same way that humans organize structurally to work and be productive, organizing these agents in that way, it started to become something like interesting, and not only interesting, but probably state of the art for a lot of problems that we see in the world today. And Langflow sort of allows that via a diversity of ways. One of them is that you can, in Langflow, we have this thing that is it's called tool mode, right? So every component in Langflow can become a tool, and even the agent component can become a tool. So you can access agents via other agents because you make the first agent a tool, right? And that can go like recursively and more powerful and complex if you want to.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we're almost out of time. But maybe one last question. What do you see as the future of Langflow?
That's a very good question.
Maybe especially with the recent acquisition
Yeah.
with the IBM and DataStacks, you might have access to more resources, and or every day we're one step closer to AGI. So do you think with models getting better, context windows getting larger, more tools?
Yeah, so I see a lot of different sparks, but also a sort of unified vision, which is, first, I see a lot of the the stuff that we see, like auto-generating components via some sort of vibe coding thing. You can imagine assisted flows being generated. So all of that, I think that's sort of obvious and inevitable progress to the platform. But as a builder and an agentic workflow builder, I also see better ways to orchestrate agents together, right? So we have this sort of vision where you can imagine something like a task management table, right? Something like a Jira tracker, something like that, where agents are assigning tasks to each other, right? And you could have one orchestrator that is going to coordinate everyone, or you could have these agents sending messages to each other and elaborating on the task. And this could go async, and where this entire system is accomplishing entire like pipelines of tasks that today are literally so far to accomplish with any model or system wrappers around models, right? I think this is one of the big visions around it. Another thing that I like to think of Langflow becoming is a little bit more towards what retraining and fine tuning does, right? And I'm not only talking about fine tuning at a model level, talking about uh, fine tuning the entire system, right? You have workflows, you have agents that connect to each other and send messages, and they make mistakes, of course, right? They will, like, AI, as much as it's smart, doesn't know what humans want because words are abstract. Human words, they are not so deterministic, right? So that the AI, yeah, understands everything. So when mistakes happen, we want to correct them. We want to label. So with and auto labeling as well, right? So agents, adversarial agents, fixing the mistakes of others, and this being sort of a retrainable brain that behind the scenes is improving at multiple iterations, right? They can imagine the system organizing tasks, and within this task organization, there are errors. These errors are being tagged as labeled as correct, incorrect, or right answer should be this or that. Human in the loop, sort of like the human is one more player in this game where there are a lot of actors, right, in the scene. And humans are sort of deciding together with the agents if things go or stay. They reveal tasks. Some agents may have access to reviewing tasks as well. Some others could just be very limited to basic. They are junior developers or junior employees, right? So we can have this variety of individuals playing this in this organized orchestration. And I think this is what Langflow like is heading towards more and more, right? And I believe that Langflow is a good player for that because it's backed again. It's backed by the programming language that makes the world turn in terms of machine learning and AI and transfer learning and fine tuning and so on, which is Python, right? So that's I think that's a little bit, right? There, if you talk to everyone at the Langflow team, everyone is going to give you a different idea, and I promise that at least 30% of them are going to be super cool. So it's a tough decision to get over there, but I think we're listening to the community more than ever right now. Taking a step back, it's a big moment for DataStacks, the announcement of the acquisition by IBM, a big moment for all of us as well. We're taking a step back and trying to at this moment slow down a little bit to speed up in the right direction. If that makes sense.
I think that's awesome and a great note to end on. We'll look forward to agents entering the workforce and being able to assign them tickets to hand over some of my tasks. But I think on that note, we should get going and continue this discussion with a broader audience at our meetup.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. And for those who haven't seen that yet, we today just launched Langflow Desktop. So head over to Product Hunt. We have Langflow over there. Check out in our website, langflow.org/desktop. You can download it from there as well and start playing. So have fun with it. Let us know what you think and join the community to give us feedback. We're always welcome.
Sounds great. We'll definitely put that in the description.